And a pleasant Friday. Welcome to Lone Star Park at Grand Prairie. I'm Jim Byers along with Rick Lee. We have a lot going on this week, Rick, culminating with the Steve Sexton Mile, a Lone Star Million Day card on Monday when there'll be mandatory payouts on Monday. But prior to that, today, let's hope the weather holds out. We're fast and firm right now. The weather has held off so far. I don't want to jinx it, but I think we've got some good races today. The first race, a key horse Scratch, the 3 Bodymore Heath, but so there's going to be a heavy favorite there, but I think there's a chance to make some money today. I think there's some horses that could win at decent value today.
Yeah, I think we're very competitive. We're on the turf. Everything's good. Some areas got heavy rain like where I live, but I was so thankful that it didn't rain here, so we're on turf. It's going to be a good card.
First race, we start right out with Texas-bred maiden 2-year-olds. That's an interesting way to start the card. Usually those races are kind of mixed in the middle somewhere. 4.5 furlong. Scratch the 3 Bodymore Heath. That's a shame because, this horse, Bodymore Heath, the dam, Swifter Than Taylor was a 7-time winner for Danny Pish and won at first asking. So this horse had a body of morning work at least. It looked like he was going to be really salty, but he's out. That leaves the entry for Gustafson as just a heavy chalk.
Yeah, it looks like Stan's Miracle Man. They're really gravitating towards this 2-year-old colt, and I know you dug up a lot of data you can share now.
Well, I got some breeding on Stan's Miracle Man. The dam is named Platinum Blue. She was a 7-time winner in the claiming and allowance ranks, earned $134K, and never raced in stakes, so that's not bad. The sire, Runaway and Hyde, was a brilliant 3-for-3 at the start of his career, got hurt, and now stands in Turkey, which is an odd place. But, and this horse, Stan's Miracle Man's a half to 2 first-out winners here. That won at Sam Houston, Blue Darter, and we've seen him around here, and that won here last year, Anna Musha, who was really a pretty impressive long shot first-out winner, circled the field one day. So that was that race that Clipper Cove was in. We were all excited about Clipper Cove, and he ran about, he ran about 1/8 of a mile and had trouble and stopped. But who knows? Stan's Miracle Man seems to have some precociousness, but we just haven't seen it really visibly in the morning.
Yeah, and Austin Gustafson's been tremendous with first-time starters, and he's had a great meeting here too. So you put that all together, and you end up with the favorite. The 7 horse in here, Red 17, I made 10-1. I picked this horse third originally. He's now my second pick. I thought he'd be real interesting. Leighton Heat was a Grade 1 winning sprinter. On the dam side, Making Waves was really nice. Useful mare, earned $161,000. This horse is trained at Louisiana Downs, so no, I have not seen him, but just based on pedigree, a couple of the workouts look very encouraging. Fastest of 16 breezes on May 5th. I just thought this one was really interesting. And then I went with the 5 horse in here, Ready to Shake. I was trying to beat this one earlier, having him down as my 4th selection. I should know better, really. Steve Asmussen's been winning these 2-year-old races here for a couple decades now. But, being here clocking, I haven't seen this horse do a whole lot. 37-4 breezing from the gate. Certainly doesn't mean he can't run or can't win in here. I just felt like this was an Asmussen who might be bet a little more than he should be just off Steve's reputation.
Yeah, I agree. I originally had him third. He's bumped up to second on my picks. His sire, Shaking It Up, I looked him up. I think he was a racehorse during my years in baseball and hockey. Shaking It Up now stands in Wynnewood, Oklahoma, a couple hours north of here. More Than a Song race for Steve Asmussen was 1 for 7 and produced More Than a Melody, who's won 3 times, has raced around here in recent years. So I went 1, 5, 7. I'm curious to see if the Caldwell on the outside, Tapping the Bling, who doesn't show a lot as far as workouts, but I don't know. I'm curious to see how he fires. Caldwell does well.
Yeah, he does well with them, and he usually breezes them like in sets of 3, and they'll all go like this one, 24 flat. And really, he's pretty deceptive. So, yeah, I think that's a good horse. I'm glad you mentioned him because, if he takes money, I'd certainly give him a serious look.
Yeah, he's kind of dead on the board in the very early going right now. On to the second. We've got video here in this race because I'm taking a little bit of a shot. Maybe. It's not really that big of a shot on the line. The 7 King Congo. We're going to go video here, and we're going to go way back. We're going to go 3 races back. March 3rd. King Congo's the horse battling for the lead. The gray horse is Ghoster. the outside horse, King Congo, who does seem to dwarf Ghoster size-wise here. I love the race that King Congo's putting in. He gets ahead in front right here. Okay, he's going to get tagged by this horse on the outside. Ghoster's going to run third. My horse, King Congo, just gets nipped at the wire. I like the gameness that day. That was 3 races back. Since then, he was in an off-the-turf race. Ghoster, who was a heavy favorite in the subsequent race, beat him by 11 lengths. So, obviously, Ghoster moved way up off that effort, and King Congo didn't. Then he caught a muddy sealed track here and was favored and backed out of it. I just think he was an off-the-turf scratch last weekend. Gustafson scratched him in an off-the-turf race. He gets on the turf today. He switches to Cabrera. I just have a feeling he might, his pedigree doesn't scream out turf. But I'm going to give him a shot over Truly Danzig, who's obviously, when you see the word Danzig, I mean, that's an old-time name from the 80s in the stallion ranks. But, I mean, there's Northern Dancer in this horse's background. So, when you go to Danzig, I mean, he's all turf back in the day. He's obviously a logical one to beat. I'm just going to try to beat him with King Congo, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and you didn't even have to mention Cabrera gets the call on your horse, King Congo, which is another big plus.
Yeah, I think that's a good move. I think that's a good move right there.
Yeah, I went with Truly Danzig. I couldn't decide between that one and Solar City. They almost look identical when you look at them. Yeah. Every time they run in state-bred maiden special weights, they run second. I mean, they're right there every single time. Solar City may have, a little bit better early speed than Truly Danzig, but again, just saving the ground, finishing up. I just slightest of edges to Truly Danzig. I took your King Congo actually second myself, just off pretty good speed, a nice work out there on May 16th, which I did witness. The switch to Cabrera, like you, the pedigree doesn't make me believe the horse is going to move up on turf. But the fact Gustafson's been trying to get him on turf, he would know more than I would about that. So I trust Austin. He's been right, seems like every time. He's been right a lot. So anyway, so we have the same top 3, it looks like.
Yeah, I went with Solar City third as well. I mean, he's going to win one of these days. But, and then Goliath Ridge has run some turf races that are pretty good. And but he's 0 for 36. I mean, he may find a field to beat, but I actually think the top 3 in here are pretty decent for the level, so I'm not sure today's the day for him. But.
Yeah, it's looking like that. He's 0 for 36. They've never dropped him into a maiden claim or Goliath Ridge. I mean, that same owner, they bred him, owned him. They just love this horse, I guarantee you. Yeah. There's no way they're going to give him up in a maiden claiming race.
No, he's made $40,600 for him, running second, third, fourth.
Yeah.
On to the third. We get another maiden race here for 2-year-olds. These are Texas breds, 4.5 furlongs. And we both ended up on the outside runner in this one.
Yeah, Wilburn's Classy Lady. I mean, I chose this one on May 8th at 47 gate work. Actually worked with Body Moore Heath. They worked together, and Wilburn smoked Body Moore. I mean, it wasn't even that close. So that work was so impressive, and April 22nd kind of tipped his hand in that 35-2. So based off those 2 works, I mean, Wilburn was a grade 2 winner. I want to say Asmussen trained Wilburn, but I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, he was a grade 2 winner himself. So that's the call here. It's a G thing for Danny Pish as my next selection. You can see a 35-3 gate work, fastest of 34 that day. Comes back with another gate move, 8th fastest of 76. Pish wins over the years with a lot of first-time starters. And one of the best debut sires in Texas, and has been for a long time as early flyer. 20%, I noticed in Formulator. 20% with 2-year-old first-time starters. That's almost unheard of. And that sample size by now, since he's such an old stallion, is very large. Wow. So that's very impressive. And then I went to put a bling on it. Lucy Valentine, was a very quick, the mare herself. Too Much Blings, 14%, first-timer with 2-year-olds. You see a nice little 23-2 gate work in the mud on May 12th. And once again, we mentioned earlier, JR, he's really slick with 2-year-old firsters.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting to see the breeder of that horse, Craig B. Singer, because when I got into the sport initially in the early 80s, he had a filly named A Kiss for Luck, who was a grade 1 winner. And you saw those distinctive pink silks a lot out in Southern California. and he bred this horse. And Lucy Valentine, the dam, did make 108,000 and won 3 races. She was a good fast sprinter. We have the same pick, same order, and you were right. Wilburn was trained by Asmussen. He was 5 for 9. He won at first asking himself at Santa Anita, and later was favored in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, a race won by trainer Donnie von Hiemel's Caleb's Posse in 2011. So Wilburn was a nice racehorse, albeit a bit of a short career. Wild Miss Pulvey, by the way, the dam, has only produced one other foal. It was 0 for 9, so we won't dwell on that. But, I like it 7-6-5 as well.
Okay.
On we go to the 4th. Scratch part of the entry here, number 1A, Mr. Production. And there is a jockey change in here on the 3, Reach the Circle. Weston Hamilton will pick up the mount for Sasha Reisenhover. 5/8 of a mile. You expect to see some fast ones in here, and boy, there are some high time form pace figures, some high speedsters it looks like in this one.
Yeah, they rarely are, and you want a horse that can maybe come from a little bit off of it. I picked Shifty Henry, made him 6-5 based on that huge buyer figure of 91 in a starter 7,500. This is a starter 5,000, so you could say a slight drop in class. He's also won 5 of his last 7 races, which is nothing to scoff at. And I did like the fact that on February 6th at Houston, he was 5th in the early stages and ran on to win. He drew perfectly. In a field of a lot of speed, he draws to the outside of the other. So Shifty Henry, if he holds form, he'll be tough to beat, probably from just a little bit off the pace. The 5 Onward, I like this one. He comes off a really nice win for trainer Steve Asmussen, winning a non-winners at 3, $15,000 claimer at Houston. He showed what he could be when he won a maiden special weight race at Tampa last winter. So that last race, to me wasn't a fluke. He had shown a lot of, precociousness at Tampa earlier in his career. And then I thought Scarlet's Blackjack, I think he's interesting because on opening day here at Lone Star Park, he wins at a little bit higher level than this one. As you can see, earns a buyer figure of 77. It might be good enough to win today, maybe. His previous race at Louisiana Downs, though, he ran poorly, but I drew a line through that because I noticed last year he only ran once at Louisiana Downs. He ran poorly. So I think perhaps he just doesn't like the surface at Louisiana Downs. So I think you're more apt to look at his previous race at Lone Star, and then looking at that, you can realize he stands a solid chance to win.
Yeah, I've got him 3rd as well. And the horse that beat him there, Mosito Rojo, was our Steve Sexton Mile winner 2 years ago, who's now toiling in the lower level ranks, but that was an optional $25,000 claimer, so it's not like he's absolutely at the bottom. This race begins the 6-shooter, and we have a very large carryover of $163,799 in the 6-shooter. And if it were to carry over, or if it has a carryover of any size going to Monday, there'll be a mandatory payout of that. We've got the same picks in the same order. I think we have 2 really good claims. Onward and Shifty Henry were both really good claims by their current connections. Caldwell going in and getting Shifty Henry over the winner, and he's ran well for him. He'll kind of test that best career buyer fig coming right back in the next race theory. But he's been in really good form. I went with him too. So. On to the 5th. We got video here. This is a 1 1/16 on the turf. Fascinated by the 2, the right stuff in here. We'll talk about him in a minute, but the video involves the 5 Heart Attack and some others that are in this race from May 6th. And what we're going to be seeing here is Heart Attack is the 7. He's in maroon. He's got red blinkers, and he is going to come roaring up here on the outside. The 12 horse in this particular race is Ready to Roll, who's in this race as well. Heart Attack gets by Ready to Roll, but then the 6 Coliquist tags them both on the outside. Amazing, nice ride by Danny Sorensen. Coliquist, a nice turfer for Danny Pish, got up and won that race. Ready to Roll had the outside post that day. He jetted to the lead. He couldn't hold. Heart Attack got a really nice ride by Aramia, switches to Elliott today. I think Heart Attack ran a winning race. I just don't know if he's going to be able to put forth that sort of effort again, but I went with him in a slight call over the right stuff, who's fascinating. But you picked the right stuff, so let's hear from you on it.
Yeah, things I like about the horse, and one thing I'm not. First of all, he was privately purchased, it appears, looking at the chart. I mean, he was owned by someone else, maybe Stone Street, in that last race at Gulfstream Park. Finished second. He breaks his maiden on turf at Tampa. All this happening just this year alone. Obviously, they went down there. Bart Holmes people purchased this colt, puts him in a one other than at Lone Star Park. He's got good early speed, but he's never had an easy early lead this year. So, if he gets beat to the front, which he very well may, there's plenty of speed in here, he'll be able to rate just off the pace. And I just figure if you're running well at Gulfstream and Tampa, you should be able to run a winning race here. And Bart Hone has this horse training really well, too, I might add. That minute and 1/5, I clocked that work on May 22nd. He's done nothing but train well since he got here. So I think Bart Hone's, who is a high percentage trainer in his own right, has every chance to win. But this is a very tough race. The 5 Heart Attack, just watching the video, he may have thought he won the race.
Yeah, I'm sure. The margin was ahead, but it's one of those where he's got to think he won. It sure looked like he almost won the way it was.
It didn't look like a head. It looked like a nose, really, watching it live. But he's been so consistent, and he showed a lot of determination winning by a neck the previous race. He's really thriving this year for Paul Duhon, this Heart Attack, this 7-year-old. And then Ready to Roll, I did make my third pick, who, got a clear lead. I know he went 23-1 to get it, but, man, he can't get an easier lead than that. He did win or finish second in Indiana, and then one other than also last fall. So obviously he's got the speed, has the talent. The buyer figures, are slightly above par like a couple others in this field. So, this race really came up pretty strong.
Yeah, it really did. We've got the same top 3 in the same order. The only question I had about Ready to Roll was, does he really want that extra 16th of a mile? He might just be. It's not that much farther, but he's going to lead for a long way. Just ask Joel, who's the 12, comes out of that race. He almost got put into the inner rail in the stretch. There was some traffic trouble. Now, it would be a little bit of a surprise if he runs a winning race here, but he had significant trouble. Life on the Road. No, I'm sorry, not Life on the Road. There was somebody else that was in that race as well. Stan's Hook and Bull. There's a bunch of horses coming out of that race. And, Stan's Hook and Bull didn't run a bad race. But so I went with, and Half Hours to Keep was the horse that caused trouble for Just Ask Joel in that May 6th race that we showed. The Right Stuff is intriguing to me. He's a late foal. He was foaled March 25th of 18, so he's only 3 years and 2 months old. First time against older. He has tremendous upside. This time the horse that beat him is right now is a monster in the lower turf stakes ranks at Gulfstream. Yes, this time is 5 for 7, and he just won a stake at Gulfstream. But the only thing that worries me about the right stuff is, does he want this mile and a 16th, or is he more of a miler to 7.5er? And can he really finish? I think he can rate. I agree totally on that. He doesn't need to have the lead, but we've never really seen him finish that strongly. That said, I had a 1 next to his name for a while and then reworked the picks.
Yeah, when he went 46-2 at Tampa, he won. Drew off a 1 and acted like he wanted a mile and a 16th. Then he had to go 45-3 near the lead the next time in a little stake, and he acted like he didn't want to go that far. So I think it all depends on how fast Ready to Roll's willing to go. And knowing Louis Q, if he outbreaks Ready to Roll, I could see Louis Q just going to the front because I've seen him do that many times.
Yeah.
So it may just come down to who breaks better.
And Louis Q will, if he can finish it all, Louis Q will get it out of him. I like your pick in there. But Heart Attack ran such a nice race, I just decided to stick with him one more time. Another contentious race in the 6th. Scratch the 3, Ribbon Cane. Leandro Goncalves will ride the 1A, Sing and Cry in Dubai. So Broberg leaves both halves of the entry in here.
Yeah, I think they both stand a good chance to win. I'll just talk about Sing and Cry in Dubai because I think he's the wire-to-wire danger in here. He did run second at a higher level at Oaklawn, losing a late lead. Finished second, losing a late lead at Fairgrounds, too. So he knows how to lose a late lead. But
that's for sure.
Perhaps this is the day because he is in for a nickel. First time for Broberg. And Boazin, he obviously is very complimentary. So both of them, can win the race. Know Your Options is another. Finished second last time out for Sarah Davidson. Was claimed by Sarah Delaney, who's having a good season. And it's interesting that she's 31% off the claim, first back off the claim.
Yeah.
So that's an impressive number. And horses that have, I really feel like that the number in that race, too, could be a little bit higher. If you look at his previous races, that's high 60s. So obviously know your options. If he runs the way he typically does, we'll be right there. And the 2, Zanucci, wins for 7,500 at Houston. Not too long ago, 3 races ago, and was claimed by trainer Steve Asmussen after, a so-so effort in the mud, but gets a fast track today where 4 of his 6 wins have been run over.
Yeah, as Gary West, our friend and colleague, once said about another horse, I considered him, I looked him over, and I threw him out. And that's kind of how I felt about Zanucci. I don't know what to do with him. So I threw him out. But, yeah, I like the entry on top here, especially Singing Cry in Dubai. I mean, he's got the best speed in here. He's a real in and outer, so, he didn't run well at all here on May 13th when he was claimed, but maybe that means he's due for a good one. I give Satellite a look here. Austin Gustafson claimed this horse out of his last start. The last start was really kind of a disaster. I mean, he got away poorly in a 7-horse field and just trailed all the way around. He gets back on a fast track. If you can go back to his 2020 races, I mean, Satellite running for 10,000 was really, really salty up at Remington. So I'm just thinking maybe, with Cabrera, Gustafson teaming up, maybe he'll flash back. I took him over Know Your Options and Ardenly Star. Ardenly Star was a really game winner last time for non-winners of 3. We'll see if he can do that again here. On we go to the 7th. Texas bred maiden special weights, 5.5 furlongs. This is really interesting because it's essentially a 3-year-old race. It's written for 3-year-olds and up, but the only non-3-year-old is Moonshiner Boy. I took a shot in here, and you took a little bit of a shot as well, although I like your pick. This is a race where I would recommend a bit of a spread.
Yeah, it is, and this is, again, typical of my best long shot of the day race. Obviously, I'm looking for races that are super competitive. Always on the Run is that best long shot for me today. Debuted last August, so he was just a 2-year-old then and ran a nice race. So he was forwardly placed, finished 3rd, just a really nice effort. Comes back, 9 months later, roughly, and he's trained really well. And I like to say, they come back bigger, stronger, and faster as a 3-year-old. I just love the works, capable winning trainer in Danny Pish. I just felt like this horse may be a lot faster than he was as a baby. So always on the run in a very contentious field. Bernasian, the 1 horse, is the next pick. I mean, he's run second at back-to-back races. That can be a positive or negative. I guess it depends how you want to look at this horse. Has good early speed, draws inside. Broberg's only had the horse for 2 races, and again, has produced 2 front-running second-place finishes. Very logical. He is versatile, too. I mean, if he can win on the lead, he can win from just off the pace. So I like his versatility. And the 9, Rush the Colors for Brett Calhoun. He's been very tough to beat to the front. As you can see, he's run second in 4 consecutive races, 1 at Remington, 3 at Houston, and Blinkers On, which normally, I like, I don't like, depending. But for Calhoun, I mean, 42-horse sample, 31% winner. Yeah. I mean, so obviously Calhoun, when he puts the blinkers on, you got to take the horse really seriously. I assume he'll make the lead with the blinkers since he's naturally very quick.
Yeah, I agree. I just, I picked enough speedsters that faded late in recent weeks that, I'm kind of, I picked against this guy when he was 3-5 opening night and got a win. I think I had Texas Crossbow, who was also kind of a short pick that day. I don't remember for sure. But, I've got this guy second. I like the fact he seems to have a pretty sprightly work, probably with blinkers on May 15th. He's just been such a money burner. I just, I took a shot here. I went with the 5 Supreme Capo. This horse last time out in an open 3-and-up maiden special weight race on the turf showed a lot of spunk. I mean, he was really right up in it, led in the stretch. Khaki Jack and Viatorum ended up getting by him. But, I mean, I think either of those could beat this field running backwards. So, I don't know if he'll transfer back, how effectively he'll go back to the main track, but I like the fact that he's had a nice work on May 21st since then, 101-4 breezing, in a race where I wouldn't mind. I mean, obviously, Rush the Colors is probably going to make the front. I don't know who's going to make the front. Actually, there's, Wings for Eno has some speed, but I'm going to give him a shot to be sitting somewhat forwardly placed, maybe on the improve. I'm going to give a long shot look on to him over Rush the Colors and Always on the Run.
That's a good pick. I wish you luck on that one.
Well, we'll see what happens.
I mean, he's lightly raced. There's certainly things to like, and you got a lot of horses in here that may not want to win.
That's the thing. That's why I had Bornazzi in fourth. It's like I picked him before, and it's just been a disappointment. So
yeah.
If I'm going to be disappointed, at least do it with a horse at a little bit higher price.
Right. No, that's smart.
On we go to the 8th. Scratch the 5 for Reef Sake and the 10 Pretty Britches, 5/8 on turf for fillies and mares.
Yeah, Last Chance for Love. This it feels like the third horse I picked that looks somewhat similar to other picks today. I'm on the fresh bandwagon here, but this one for good reason. I mean, this is a 4-year-old filly who's run fresh twice and was very impressive both times. Wins her debut at Fairgrounds, open maiden special weights, given some time, shows up at Indiana and a one other then, wins by 4 1/4 lengths, and then runs poorly in a stake. Given time, has not raced since August, comes back with all these flashy workouts. The last work I did have this horse going 22.85 for the opening quarter and 46. I mean, that showed terrific speed that day, so I'm hopeful. Has not been on turf before, but Violence, I noticed, I looked him up, 14% turf sprint sire. That's very good. So off the fact that she runs fresh so well, I'm going to take Last Chance for Love. The 2 Smart Set. Usually most people at 5/8 don't like turnbacks very much. However, this filly's undefeated in turf sprint. She's 2 for 2, one win at Hawthorne, one at Gulfstream. At Turf Paradise, she was, battling for the lead in route races before fading. She did win one of those races. The turf sprint might be her game, so to me, very dangerous. And the 9 Spot On, who won a one other than at Lone Star on May 7th in a turf sprint from just off the pace, basically was battling for the lead. I like that Ignis came back and won the third place finisher and earned a 73, which makes you want to put a little plus sign by the 72 earned in there. It's taken a slight jump in class, but, she's a 6-year-old mare who's in very good form right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, and if Elstown were to come back off the bench running, I mean, if you go back a year, Elstown might be favored in this field, but I used her fourth. But, yeah, a lot of contention in this race. We're both on Last Chance for Love. I mean, those works and her ability to fire fresh. I don't know how much the pedigree screams out turf, but at 5/8 on turf, if they're a good sprinter, I don't really worry about that excessively. So I took her over Spot On, who I gave the nod over Smart Set. But like you, I mean, Smart Set to me, she likes turf. She likes sprinting. I mean, she's, a pretty nice filly here since they got her out of New York at least. So that's a really interesting race.
Yeah, and Elstown, as you mentioned, her only bad race was on soft footing, that very last one before the layoff.
Yeah.
So obviously we're not going to have a soft turf course here today. My front yard maybe, but
exactly
not the turf course.
On to the 9th. Interesting situation here with Broberg keeping both entry mates in. The 1A Verrazano First will be ridden by Ramon Vasquez, and that is because the 5 Gold Double is scratched out of this race, a mile allowance event. Nice big field here in the nightcap, and, it was weird, Rick. I mean, Calhoun had 2 in here, Bandit Swanson and Gold Double, who came out of the same race. Bandit Swanson beat Gold Double by a nose. To me, they both kind of have the same running style. They both kind of plod along. Sometimes they finish well. Neither of them really has an abundance of early speed. I didn't really know what to do with either of them, so I picked against both of them. But, Bandit Swanson is now left to be your pick.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it now that I look. Because Gold Double, I scratch. I prefer when a trainer has 2 contenders, they scratch one. Generally speaking, they leave the one in that they feel like suits the field better or woke up this morning feeling better. So Bandit Swanson, who has been a money burner, he's been in the money 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive races at this one other than condition after a really nice maiden special weight win at Remington. Always works out a good trip. Last time out was a little bit wide. You can make a little bit of a case there. But it's finished second in all 3 starts here at Lone Star Park. Giving him one more chance, I guess. for the second time, one more chance. We'll go to the 8. Long-term relationship is my next selection here, who ran really well at Oaklawn, won a starter allowance there, earning a really big buyer figure of 83, which, is more than fast enough to win at this level. Last start at Oaklawn was at 1 mile and an eighth, ran evenly, but now cutting back to 1 mile. Finds a little bit softer company here, even though this is a really nice field. Not quite what he ran against in Hot Springs. And David Cabrera gets the call, which is always a good thing. The 9, Social Athlete, it looks like I got here third. Just kept State Company. I mean, I know there wasn't wins over the winter at Delta and Fairgrounds, but kept state-bred State Company then, earned buyer figures again, on par or a little better than what it takes to win here. 2 starts back, Turf, so draw a line through that one. Then exits a really nice second-place finish for $20,000, was claimed by J.R. Caldwell, a really sharp horseman here who must have liked what he saw because he puts him right back into an allowance race.
Yeah, I mean, he's another one. I wasn't sure what to do with him. I don't have him in the picks, but, you've got 2 Asmussens in here that aren't necessarily among the top contenders. This is a really tough race. I went with long-term relationship. Cabrera rides a lot for Moquette here, even when there are Broberg horses in the race that typically Cabrera will ride for Broberg. I think these $30,000 and $50,000 starter allowances that long-term relationship was knocking heads with at Churchill and Oaklawn are probably pretty nice races, and I think there's enough speed in here that it might set up for a closer. I've got him over Bandit Swanson. The intriguing horse to me, and the one I'm going to watch the tote board for, is Bordeaux Red, the 2. He came out in a maiden special weight race here on a sealed track opening weekend, and it was really impressive. I mean, he won it in visually impressive fashion. He has come back and worked as recently as May 23rd, a half mile. Not very fast, but he has come back and worked a couple times since. I'm just intrigued. It's a big ask for him to stretch out after that maiden win. This is a nice group, but I made him third. And another horse that I think is intriguing is Alex June, the 3. I don't know why they would have put this horse on the lead last time at Oaklawn, but he found himself on the lead, and he looks like, to me, that when he does run good races, which isn't all the time, but he's a closer type. Thomas Shelby, who won that race, came back and won here this past weekend. I don't know. I just think maybe, if they take him off the pace and the race collapses speed-wise, he might be a long shot to include supers or super high fives, something like that.
Yeah, we've mentioned this before, but Bordeaux Red, I mean, the third-place finisher, Say It Ain't Sony, came back and ran in the 80s. I mean, I think he ran in 81 buyer.
He's entered in one of the Lone Star Memorial Day Million races, one of those stakes. He's a long shot, but he's entered in it.
Yeah, and I've always liked 2 sprints and then a route going a mile. So, I mean, I like the angle for Bordeaux Red as well. So, There's just a lot of contention here.
And we did all this, and we didn't talk about either of the Brobergs, and we didn't talk about Octo Gali, who's Asmussen's other, that's by the hot sire Protonico, who I liked against Bobby Brinkley. I didn't pick him, but I liked him against Bobby Brinkley last time. So, good race to wrap it up.
Great way to close out the program.
Good luck today. Got that big carryover in the 6-shooter heading into today, 163,700 plus. Got a carryover coming into the first race, Super High 5 as well. Rick, as always, thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck today. Thanks for looking in.